as its will, and I'm here at the Mushroom House at the farm. I got to be honest with you right up front. There's no way to make this video without it sounding like an I told you so video. And I apologize for that ahead of time, but the truth is, it's got to be told. Many of you remember before the election, I did several videos where I tried to speak to rural America, particularly farmers and ranchers, to talk to them about the ramifications of a second term for Donald Trump. And in several of those videos, I talked about the fact that if we were to elect Donald Trump and he were to impose a second round of tariffs on China, the results would be devastating. And if you think hard about it, you'll remember what we talked about. Number one, we talked about the fact that China wasn't prepared for the tariffs in the first Trump administration. They had a disease going through their hog population. They didn't have good stocks of row crops. So they were caught off guard. And they had to continue to buy some American pork and some American row crop products in order to survive the tariffs, especially the time of C-19. But we also talked about what's happened since then. The Chinese no longer have a disease going through their pork population, and they're well stocked in pork. And in addition to that, they've reached out to South America and made best friends with the governments of Brazil and Argentina. And they are importing a lot of wheat and corn and soybeans from South America to the point where Brazil, which used to supply China with only 13% of their row crops, is now supplying them with over 43% of their row crops. And that relationship is just getting cozier and cozier. And we talked about the fact that if we were to impose another round of tariffs on China, it would be devastating for row crop farmers because since China is more prepared, not only would they be less likely to continue to buy row crops from Americans and from American farmers, they would also impose reciprocal tariffs of their own that would be devastating for row crop farmers in America. And guys, that's exactly what's happened. That's exactly what's happened. And again, this isn't an I told you so video, but it sure as hell is I wish you would listen video. Because on Friday, the Chinese told the 3 largest soybean distributors in this country that sell the beans that farmers raise in this country to China, you can no longer do business here. Your contracts are canceled, your licenses are canceled. In addition to that, they placed their own reverse tariffs on all different kinds of categories: pork, beef, corn, fowl, poultry. And remember what we said, those studies that have been done by the American Soybean Association, by the corn growers before the last election, that if these tariffs took place again, it would cost soybean farmers 37 billion metric tons of soybean sales to China and around the world. And with corn, it could cost as much as 80% of the corn sales in this country. And here we go. Top 3 soybean sales companies in this country, their licenses to sell to China have been canceled. Chinese are saying, we don't want your beans anymore. Now we face the same thing, the same threat that we warned would happen before the last election, happening now to corn as well. And we're talking billions of dollars worth of corn sales. There's no way a paltry $526 million ethanol fuel program sponsored by the Trump administration in Iowa is going to make up for the billions of dollars in lost corn sales we are going to have because of these tariffs. And look at what happened today. I got up this morning, and while I was drinking my coffee up here at the farm, I listened to TikTok after TikTok of Trump supporters saying, well, he proved it today. The market's up 700 points. We're getting back all these gains. All these countries are coming to the table. And then what did we learn? When they asked the White House, you're claiming China wants to make a deal. Have you talked to China? No, we haven't. Have they said what kind of a deal they want? No, they haven't. Well, you're claiming South Korea wants a deal. Have you talked to them? Yes, we have. Have they talked about what kind of a deal they want? No, they haven't. And the truth of the matter is the market saw bullshit. And then what did the White House do? This afternoon, they announced that they're going to impose 104% tariffs on China, and the market lost every single one of the gains that it gained earlier today because there's chaos in the marketplace. People do not know how to plan for this, and this administration is woefully unprepared to do battle with the Chinese. I'm just telling you guys, this administration, when it comes to agriculture and rural policy, they're not playing chess, they're not playing checkers. They're sitting in the corner playing with themselves. There's no other way to put it, because everything they're doing from a policy perspective and an action perspective is failing. And now the chickens are coming home to roost. Why am I making this video? It's not to say I told you so. It's to say get off your butts. Republicans and independents and Democrats, all 3 of you. But I know the Democrats are doing the hard work. Get off your butts and make those calls to those Republican policyholders, those Republican office holders, those Republican politicians, and tell them to take back their power on these tariffs so that they can stop what's happening. There's no positive trend going on here, guys. I'm telling you right now. Read the markets. Go out there and read the data from these conservative agricultural organizations that have no love for Democratic politicians that are telling us that shit is going south in a hurry. Farmers have already taken out their loans. They've already put a lot of their crops in the ground. If there are no sales and there are no subsidies, it will be too late for small farmers and ranchers. So get up, Republicans. You Republican farmers. Get up and make those calls. Don't allow your cattlemen organizations to speak for you. Don't allow the Farm Bureau to speak for you. You make the calls yourselves to these politicians that you voted for and tell them you expect them to take their power over these tariffs back and to stop this freight train before it goes off the cliff. Because left to their own devices, this administration is not going to stop it. That's your call to action. Will you heed it? I don't know, but I hope so. Because if you don't, J.D. Vance and all of his friends at Acre Trader are going to make a hell of a lot of money come the end of this year when the harvest comes in and there's no place to sell it.
Fuller's family has been farming in northern Polk County for generations.
Now I get to call all the shots.
He's already nervous about the cash crop he's about to start planting. Soybeans are the target of China's retaliatory tariff, 10% on certain imports from the United States, in response to President Trump's 10% blanket tariff on Chinese goods. Fuller is fearful it spells bad news for the 2025 harvest.
You know, they aren't good for the other countries, they aren't good for me. And who could blame them putting reciprocal tariffs on us? You know, it's just a match, you know, and nobody's going to win.
China is one of the largest overseas markets for American soybeans. According to the USDA, the United States exported nearly $13 billion in soybeans to China last year alone. Fuller has already faced 2 years of bean prices dropping and says it looks as if the trend may continue.
Last year, we took a step back, and now we're taking another step back. So, many of us will get through it, and it's going to be tough on others.
Doug Fuller's family has been farming in North.
China said they don't give a fuck. They meant it. If you haven't heard, China has ended its beef exports from the U.S. Losing those exports is worth $1.6 billion to the U.S. And you want to guess which state exports the most? Nebraska. And they have a $400 million budget short, which means the Nebraskan ranchers are not going to be able to get a subsidy from the state because they're already $400 million short. China took that beef exports right over to Australia. And China didn't stop there. They are also reducing their soybean exports by 9.5%, or almost $5 billion. And Indiana is going to feel that pain, seeing that they export $2.6 billion, or 60% of their soybean crops, to China. And China is going to subsidize that through Brazil. So that means we are losing again. Have you noticed that they are targeting red states? That seems pretty strategic, if you ask me, targeting red states.
The response that he wanted. So in response to the pausing of the tariffs on electronics and such coming from China, they decided that they're going to cancel all of their imports of American beef. That's around $2.5 billion of exports that will not be leaving mostly red states in America. And instead of getting the beef from the U.S., they're going to start sourcing it from Australia instead. This is just the beginning, people. They're going to slowly start replacing all of their imports that they got from America with imports from other countries.
They're not backing down in this trade war. Yeah, Trump may have folded a little bit and backtracked a bit, but they're not backing down. They said, no, you started this, we're full go, bro.
And I'm sure there's still people out there that's going to be like, well, they still need us. I'm afraid to see what they cancel next.
Move that could potentially flip the next U.S. election, and here's why. They hit American farmers, and it's actually a genius move. So most people think that tariffs are just about money, but when China slapped tariffs on U.S. agricultural projects, they weren't targeting the economy, they were targeting the next election. Let me break that down. China could have gone after tech, auto, or oil, but instead they hit chicken, beef, soybeans, and pork, because those are the lifelines for rural America, and the same regions that delivered Trump to the White House. It's a surgical strike on the swing state farmers in Iowa, Ohio, and Wisconsin who are now watching their export income collapse. Trust me, when you mess with someone's harvest, those votes, they might swing a little bit differently in 4 years. That's not all. China isn't hurting themselves with these tariffs. They got Brazil already sorted out for soybeans, Argentina for corn, beef from Australia, and they're also ramping up their own agriculture tech to stop relying on the U.S. altogether. Meanwhile, the American farmers are scrambling to pivot their crops and finding buyers. This isn't just retaliation, it's a surgical move that focuses on the long game. China is using economic pain to apply political pressure, and instead of streaming it on Twitter like other people, they're doing it silently with tariffs that look like trade moves but function as a geopolitical blackmail. Bottom line, China is playing all out, and this rumble is just getting started. So do you think that U.S. should hit back harder, or did China just get one step ahead? Let me know what you think in the comments. China just get...
Let's talk about J.D. Vance's latest comments. To make it a little bit more crystal clear, we borrow money from Chinese peasants to buy the things those Chinese peasants manufacture. Do you really think that was some diplomatic slip-up? I don't think that was a slip. I think it was a glimpse behind the curtain. We borrow money from Chinese peasants to buy things from Chinese peasants. Let that sink in. If we're borrowing money from peasants, what does that make us? But this is how they see everyone who is not in their billionaire circle. This man who supposedly climbed out of poverty, and then he just decides to kick the ladder out from behind him, accidentally revealed how they truly see everybody else who's not in their circle. The Trump administration isn't fighting for you. They are transforming this country into an oligarchy and pointing their fingers at everybody else while they're doing it. They slap massive 104% tariffs on China, knowing full well that we will pay the cost, not China. J.D. Vance talks about Chinese workers as if they're beneath him. But guess what? In his world and in Trump's world, we are all beneath them. We are all peasants. We are all just labor to be exploited, votes to be manipulated, and wallets to be emptied. Remember this the next time the Trump administration pretends to be heroes of the working class. Their mask slipped, and we all heard what they really think. We are not citizens to them. They think of us as peasants, and it's time that we stop letting them treat us like it. It is time for this administration to be impeached and removed.
Tariffs are here and people are losing their mind. They're losing money and they're losing their businesses. So what are the repercussions? Well, farmers in America, they're losing out. China has decided, you know what, to turn their back on America goods and look for alternative market. They've started with their rejecting beef. We have seen Mexico increasing prices on their eggs, and the people are going to suffer are the farmers. We have seen the government, the current government, they have literally removed some subsidies for farmers, and farmers are feeling the effect right now as we speak. When you look at the video. Now, let's talk about the common citizen who has a 9-to-5 job. What are the repercussions? First of all, they are going to feel the tariffs effect. When they go to the supermarket, you're going to get prices have increases, and you wonder why. Because of the tariffs. Yes. When the president campaign, they say that when increase the tariffs, the country where they're ordering the products from, they're the ones who are going to pay the tariffs. But unfortunately, that is a lie. Normally, what happens when you have tariffs, the customer is the one who's going to pay the cost. The company will be charged the extra tariff. They will absorb that cost and they will pass it to the customer, who is the normal citizen who is going to the supermarket to buy that product, and you're going to find prices have increases. So who's gonna be the winner? Only time will tell. But the reality is everybody from the rich up to the poor, they'll be forced to cough up extra dollar so that they'll be able to afford that product that you want to buy. Overall, that is the reality on the ground. Mortgage prices are going to go up. Jobs right now, we are seeing people are losing their jobs as a result of what the new administration policies, where they're cutting out on federal jobs. We are seeing majority of people are going now to private sector, and some people, unfortunately, they're going to lose out. The DEI program used to help people also has been cut out, so people have lost their jobs out of that. And yes, people will be affected. Not only the people who are working, but also families who are depending on the people who are earning that money through those jobs. And the result is going to be disastrous. People are going to lose their homes because some people are depending on their jobs to be able to afford the mortgage. So if you have no savings, you'll not be able to afford to pay for the mortgage. So some people are going to close down their mortgages. They're going to lose out their homes. Some people are going to lose their small businesses because they cannot afford the new tariffs. Some people are going to to close out their farms because they cannot not afford to manage their farms because they don't have workers. They are not able to have subsidies. They'll not be able to manage running their farms. So the ripple effect is going to be felt by everybody, not only the rich but also the poor and also the middle class. So who are the winners? Time will tell. Are we making America great again? Time will tell. But you are being told you have to feel the pain in the short term so that in the long run everybody can enjoy the fruits of labor and live the American dream. But the question is, will the people, the normal people who are depending on their paycheck, be able to afford to absorb the short-term pain? Will the next 4 years help these people to be able to afford their lifestyle, be able to take care of themselves, be able to have food on their table, be able to have a roof on their head? Only time will tell. So these are the results of voting the way you did, and the current administration. Some people have regretted. They're saying, oh, we wish we had not voted for the current administration. Other people are saying, well, you made your bed and now you need to lie on it because you were told during the campaign and you did not listen, and you still decided to vote against your best interest, and now is the time you have to pay for the consequences. Coming the next 4 years, I hope people are going to sit down, they're going to read, they're going to do their research, so that the next when they're being told to vote, they'll be able to vote for people who have their best interests at heart, vote for people who are going to help them be able to live a comfortable life, be able to live a life that they'll be able to take care of themselves and their family, and of course the community at large. So guys, let me know what you think about the video and drop your comments. Okay, bye bye.